Regular open meeting of council, November the 12th, 2024 at 2 p.m. in council chambers. Before we start the meeting, I wish to acknowledge the passing of former BC Premier John Horgan. In his honor, I have asked that the flags at the municipal office be lowered to half-mast until the day of his funeral services. Mr. Horgan will be remembered for his dedication and hard work for British Columbians. Our thoughts are with his family and the many people whose lives he touched. I will now ask for the approval of the agenda, and are there any late items? Thank you. Councillor King, Councillor Poderica, all in favor. Thank you. And next is the adoption of some minutes, the regular open minutes from October the 22nd, 2024, and the special open minutes from October the 30th, 2024. I have a motion to adopt those, please. Councillor Bennett, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you. And next, we have a public hearing and third reading or adoption of bylaws where applicable after the hearing. So the first thing that I will do is say that the public hearing is for the official community plan amendment, bylaw number 1375.01, 2024, and the zoning amendment, bylaw number 1395.02, 2024. So I will read the statement of the chair. This public hearing is convened pursuant to Section 464 of the Local Government Act, RSBC 2015, to allow the public to make representation to council respecting matters contained in the OCP Amendment Bylaw number 1375.02, 2024, and the Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1395.01, 2024. Every person present who believes that their interest in property is affected by the proposed bylaw shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard respecting matters contained in the proposed bylaw. None of you will be discouraged or prevented from making your views known. However, it is important that you restrict your remarks to matters contained in the proposed bylaw. If you wish to speak once it is time for public representation and are attending in person, please proceed to the microphone and commence your remarks by clearly stating your name and address. If you wish to speak and are attending virtually, please virtually raise your hand. If you are unsure how to do so, you can find the information on the town's website. It will be your turn to speak once your name or phone number has been called. Your microphone will be unmuted, and you may commence your remarks by clearly stating your name and address. Once you have finished speaking, your microphone will be muted. If they wish, members of council may ask you questions following your presentation. However, the function of council at this public hearing is to listen to you rather than to debate the merits of the proposed bylaw. In accordance with the council procedure bylaw, presentations by members of the public shall be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes each. If a person has additional information that they are unable to provide within that time frame, they shall be given further opportunity to address council after all other interested members of the public have been heard a first time. Please refrain from applause or other expressions of emotion during this public hearing so that we may ensure as impartial a hearing as possible. After this public hearing is adjourned, council members will not speak to the public on this matter until after the meeting, the matter has been dealt with at a public meeting. After this public hearing has concluded, council may, without further notice, give whatever effect council believes proper to the representations made at this hearing. So we have had 4 pieces of correspondence, and they have been included in the agenda package. So I'm going to ask Planner Duong to present to council the official amendment, council OCP and zoning amendment bylaws. Thank you, Ms. Duong.
Thank you, and I do just have a PowerPoint presentation. Okay, thank you. So as mentioned, this public hearing is in regards to official community plan amendment bylaw number 1375.02, or yes, .02, and zoning amendment bylaw number 1395.01, 2024. So just to provide a bit of an overview about the subject properties involved, there are two properties under application, being 6819 Cottonwood Drive and 6821 Cottonwood Drive. I'll just break it down by property here. So for 6819 Cottonwood Drive, the official community plan designation that applies to the property is medium density residential, with a corresponding zoning of medium density residential 1. The parcel is approximately 1,471 square meters in size and is located within the urban containment area as delineated in the town's OCP bylaw. It is currently vacant. Now, the property up to the northeast at 6821 Cottonwood Drive is currently designated as low density residential under the town's OCP bylaw, with a corresponding zoning of small scale multi-unit residential. The parcel is approximately 981 square meters in size, is also within the urban containment area, and does contain an existing accessory building which would need to be demolished in order to proceed with the applicant's proposed development. And with respect to this proposal, the applicant is looking to undertake a 19-unit townhouse development, which would span across the two properties. So the two properties would need to be consolidated in order to develop it as planned. Now, the two subject properties, as you've noticed, have differing OCP and zoning designations. The property at 6819 Cottonwood Drive is designated and zoned for medium density residential purposes. So this would include things like townhouses and apartments, whereas the property at 6821 Cottonwood Drive is designated and zoned for low density residential purposes. So single detached dwellings as well as duplexes. Aside from these uses that are permitted in the differing zones, the maximum density is one of the bigger differing aspects of these properties. So in the small scale multi-unit residential zone, the RS1 zone, only a maximum of 2 dwelling units are permitted on that parcel, and that would either be in the form of a duplex or a single detached dwelling with a secondary suite, or a single detached dwelling with an accessory dwelling. Whereas in the medium density residential zone, that does permit up to 75 dwelling units per hectare. So when you look at these two properties together, they have a cumulative parcel size, if consolidated, of 2,452 square meters. So calculating out the maximum density on these two lots together would allow for a maximum of 18 dwelling units. And the request is for 1 additional dwelling unit. So that being said, the official community plan amendment bylaw number 1375.01, 2024 proposes to amend the OCP designation of the property at 6821 Cottonwood Drive under the OCP bylaw from low density residential to medium density residential, and also to amend map 15 of the OCP bylaw, which is the multifamily residential development permit area, to include 6821 Cottonwood Drive, which is currently not in that area, given that it is a low density residential designation and zoning. And zoning amendment bylaw number 1395.01, 2024 proposes to amend the zoning designation of the property at 6819 Cottonwood Drive from medium density residential 1 to medium density residential 1 site specific. And similarly at 6821 Cottonwood Drive from small scale multi-unit residential to medium density residential 1 site specific. The site specific zoning provision that would apply would be to permit 19 dwelling units on a parcel of land with an area of approximately 2,452 square meters in size. So this would only allow for the 19 dwelling units in a case where the properties were to be consolidated. And just in summary, since this it is somewhat confusing, if adopted as is, the proposed amendments would result in both of the properties being designated as medium density residential under the OCP bylaw, multifamily residential development permit area under the OCP bylaw. And with that in mind, any development that would take place on this property for multifamily residential purposes would be subject to the issuance of a multifamily residential development permit. And lastly, both of the properties would be zoned medium density residential 1 site specific, with that site specific allowance for 19 dwelling units. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Duong. We will now go to the public input, and I will first ask if the applicant is present. No, do you know? Oh, is the applicant online?
Hi, this is Manika Grover. I am an architect here at ABC and I work with Paramorph Architecture Inc. We designed the project and yes, we're available online.
Would you like to go ahead and speak, please?
Sure. Is there a way I can also present my screen? If not, that's okay. I will just go through the information that I have.
If you can share your screen, you're more than welcome.
I don't see an option for it.
It may not be available as we are in a
Yeah.
webinar, so.
Okay, so I will just speak to the proposal. We are proposing, first of all, thank you, Ms. Duong, for presenting the project. She's right, we're requesting that the two sites be consolidated and both be considered under RM1 zoning to allow 19 townhouses to be developed on the site. All townhouses are about 18 townhouses are 3-bedroom and 1 townhouse is 2-bedroom plus den. The units vary in size from 1,350 square feet to 1,750 square feet. We have sufficient parking. Every single unit has 2-car parking garage, and there are a total of 4 visitor parking spots available on the site. The access to the site is from Cottonwood Drive, and a single-lane hammerhead is introduced at the end for U-turn of vehicles, delivery vehicles, etc. The landscape design brings harmony to the community by using unit pavers across the entire length of drive aisle, and color palette resembles the building design. We're quite excited about the contemporary design proposed in the area, as it's the site is right across the well-maintained, accessible Cottonwood Park, and it also provides an opportunity to have housing at such a serene, convenient location. We are proposing longboard siding with wood finish in 2 complementary colors, fiber cement boarding in alternating contrasting colors, and blue doors to bring out pop. There are also every single unit has access to private yards, balconies, and rooftop decks. Other than that, we've provided additional outdoor amenity space with kids' play structure for the pleasant use of residents. Developer team is also, I believe, available virtually, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Is that a possibility? Does anybody have any questions? I'm not sure. Can't see it, so I don't. Council, anybody have any questions?
Hello, Harry? You had your hand raised? You can ask.
No, I don't think so. So what I will do is ask for public presentation, and I will ask the public if there is anyone who wishes to speak to this application for the first time. Is there anyone who would like? Please come up to the microphone, and can you turn the microphone on? And could you, yeah, press and it should come up red. You got it? You might want to pull it down a little bit. And could you state your name and address, please?
Douglas Seabaugh, 6823 Cottonwood Drive. I guess my question, I don't know, can I ask the builder questions too?
I don't believe so because I'm not sure. Mrs. Colson, what do you think? Or Ms. Duong, what do you think? Is there a question of the builder, or are we at that stage yet?
Ordinarily, those types of questions would be taken at the time of a public information meeting, which we had previously undertaken, I believe, just earlier in the spring. For the public hearing, generally, it's meant to capture any sorts of opposition or support for the particular file at hand.
That was the meeting that we had about, that we were told that they were gonna build 2 condos on the lot? Or a duplex? Is that what you're referring to? Yeah, they were building a duplex on each lot. Is that what you're referring to?
I don't believe so. I don't remember a public meeting that said that.
I think someone here's got the paperwork. Like to read it?
If you would like to give it to staff, we can, no? When was that, when was that published? What was the date?
It was a
Ms.
Zoom
Wong, do you
meeting.
know anything about it at that date? What was that date? Do you know? And if you're not sure, we'll look it up, but
Unfortunately, I was not the file manager at that time. I had taken over the file from a staff member who's no longer with the town.
okay. So perhaps you could just go ahead with, if you are for or against this and give your reasons.
I'm
That would
against it.
help.
I'm against it because Cottonwood in the summertime, there's limited parking. I've had cars parked in my driveway when I'm not at home. So they're saying there's 2 spots for each unit. How many visitor parking is there? There's 4. Think about that, 4. The other thing is that they're 3 stories high. They're building 3 stories high. You guys have okayed that. The next thing is they're sitting right on the edge of the street. You guys have changed the setback from the easement, right? You've allowed that.
It would fit in whatever the zoning and the OCP is, they would have to follow with the whatever the rules and regulations are with
So
that.
basically, it's being changed, I'm guessing, to commercial property to allow them to build so close to the street. Would that not be fair?
I do not think it's considered commercial, no.
It basically, I was told in the meeting that happened back in March that supposedly was going to be a duplex, that it was going to be, I believe it was 3.6 meters from the easement, which is roughly 15 feet.
I'm sorry, we can't answer that, but we are taking notes right now. We can certainly look back and get that kind of
Based
information.
on that, I mean, nothing more than I'm going to lose my view. That and
Yes.
I'll have this great big 3-story building, towering over my house.
So you're in the property next door to
next
one
door
of
to
these?
it.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. We certainly understand your concerns and we will take notes on that. And I'm sorry that we can't answer all your questions today.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there anyone? I will ask again, is there anyone who wishes to speak to the public? Oh. Okay, thank you. So could you state your name and address, please?
Yes, Colin Brierly, 6 Birch Court. I came down and saw Brianne sometime before March. When they had the property assessment, or the assayors, they came out, damaged our hedge, cut a big, huge hole in it. It was never repaired, never addressed. They also damaged the walkway, the public walkway that goes down behind the property. Anyways, there's 3 things that bother me about the project. One, it's modern design. It does not fit in with any of the neighborhood. Secondly, the size, 3 stories. 3 stories, we all know that the majority of the owners will be out-of-town owners, and they're providing a rooftop deck. Think about it. 3 stories in a residential neighborhood, which is single dwelling, and all of a sudden we're going to have a rooftop deck for all the people to come in and party all summer long. Not going to happen in our neighborhood. The other thing we're worried about is the problem with our water. We keep approving additional complexes and we keep putting it on our already overtaxed water and sewer system. When are we going to stop the development and fix our water and sewer first? I just disagree with the whole proposal of 19 townhouses. When Elena Levin sold the property, she had already was marketing it as an 18 townhouse development. That's how she sold the two properties. Like, how does this happen? And now we have a developer wanting to put 19 units. How far back from the walkway are the units going to be? How far back from the properties is this going to be? Think about it. If it was in your yard and all of a sudden 3 stories plus a rooftop deck for people to party from out of town, that's all I got to say.
Thank you very much. We have 2 hands up there. Could you see if Manica, is it Manica first?
Yes.
Sorry,
Hi,
I'll let you deal with it. Mhm.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just trying to respond to the
Mm.
comments that we've received so
Sorry to
far.
interrupt you, Manik. You will have you will have the time to respond to these at the end of
Okay,
the
okay.
public's input. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Um,
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Mr. Murray,
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. My name is Wallace Murray, and my address is 7 Birch Court. I'm next to Colin. First, did you receive the letter that I sent?
yes, we did. It is attached to the agenda.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. I may be repeating some of the others, but if you look at my letter, there's a few things. One has already been mentioned, and that's about view impacts. So, I mean, the area was designed in a certain way, and these height restrictions are clearly changing community views. And that means it's violating established view corridors. So I think with probably a 40-foot plus roof line, not only that, but I think there's a lot of issues with quality of life, property values, and it brings up about future community zoning modifications that have not been taken into any consideration in the planning, which gets into shadow impacts. And as I think you know, as a council, a lot of municipalities have been take that into consideration, and there's been different legal challenges around that. But I haven't seen any comprehensive shadow study that's been done on this, which really has impacts and affects all the neighboring properties. So I think it's just a best practice. I think Osoyoos should adopt what many municipalities do and their effects on different properties. You've already heard about increased traffic and congestion. I think it's very reasonable to assume that it's going to lead to increased congestion, noise pollution, and safety concerns. You've already heard about, and also there's going to be more walkers, cyclists, etc., magnified more during the tourist season. How is that all going to be mitigated and managed? And I don't see anywhere in any writing or an analysis on that. And fourthly, there's been this overemphasis on density now without planning for managed density. I'm sure council wants to manage this and plan for the future rather than other municipalities that have done things in haphazard ways, and there's been problems for that. So definite strain on infrastructure. We already have overburdened systems and decreased service quality for everyone. There's absolutely going to be a loss of community character because this is kind of piecemeal. Suddenly you have something in the neighborhood without consideration of the character or how the community identifies. And it seems like a very big overdevelopment and create a sense of overcrowding and set a precedent that it's okay to diminish overall the quality of life in areas of the town before having a bigger picture view of what the overall plan is. I didn't see any information about fire safety concerns, any detailed fire safety plan, emergency access routes. You have Cottonwood, there's going to be all this traffic. What happens if there's a fire? That's a liability risk for Osoyoos. And I've seen no environmental impact assessment, not just about the property, but about the park, the lake, added people, etc. And I think today that's an important thing. I would say that there's been somewhat limited public input that there's been things online, but I think having more opportunity to express concerns and get community actually community input in meetings and different things. And I'm saying there should be a call for that. I think that's important, just for that. Beyond, and that's simply the agenda. I think that would be a good chance to hear everyone's opinions on that. And in terms of zoning changes, if this is the way that things are going, in terms of neighboring properties and all that, what's the plan for these new height allowances? What's the plan for growth in the neighborhood? And I think more careful analysis and things like that, I'm suggesting should be done before such a major development is going to impact a neighborhood so substantially. And that's what I'd like to say. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Appreciate it. We're taking notes. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to this presentation application? Is there another hand up there other than Monica's? Can you tell, Mrs. Robinson?
Harry, do you have something to add to this? You can unmute. There we go.
Good afternoon. So I think we're actually the developers for this proposed project. Before I sort of, I guess, mention a few things, maybe if Monica wants to add her part as well, and then I'll just throw in a few items as well just to share with everyone. And again, thank you so much for having the public hearing as well. And
Okay.
For all the residents as well that have come out. We respect everything that you've said. But before I go into a couple other things, I'll just let Monica jump in first. Thank you so much.
Okay, and it looks like at this point, we did have possibly one more resident who raised their hand, but they
Sure.
might have put it down. So it'll just be a moment, Harry and Manica.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
Thank you so much.
Do you have the last names for Harry and Manica, and are they both the developers? Or one is the architect, one's a developer, is that correct?
Correct.
Yes. So
Okay, you've got them. Okay, good. All right, is there someone else who wishes to speak on the online?
yes. Mr. Aiken? Mr. Aiken, you can unmute and speak.
Okay,
Can
can you
you-
hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, good afternoon. It's Cindy and Barry Aitken. Our address is 7003 Cottonwood Drive, Osoyoos. And we do have some concerns. And our first one would be safety concerns. As you know, there are parks at both ends of Cottonwood, and there are many adults and children on bikes and scooters using the roadways. There's people walking dogs, there's many people jogging, using the parks. And we've actually had to put up BCAA signs for cars to slow down and watch for children. It's a very busy street. And as people have already mentioned, parking is an issue. But more so, the new owner was not actually maintaining this property, and the city had to get involved. They had to come and hire someone to clean the lot because it was a fire concern this summer. And, that's not a good indication of the new owner and his commitment to the community. Also, we have concerns with the 11-foot property line being too close to the street. Most of the homes along Cottonwood are set back. So now this development is going to be very close to the street, which doesn't give very nice community character, as well as the height of 50 feet is a concern. It's going to be higher than all the other homes on this street. Also, a noise, that's a concern. The pub can get very noisy at night. Now you're adding people and cars. Also, this is a dead-end street, which causes traffic and congestion. And I have to agree with the person that spoke before us about the limited public input. I think we need to get more opinions. We need growth analysis. How does this impact our community? It's all about the community and safety and the whole character of our community. Do we want this?
Hi, it's Barry again. Also, we've had many comments from friends and relatives as to how nice looking Cottonwood Drive is. They come in and they see the beautiful park and everything else. And unfortunately for the people that all are lined in behind this new development, won't see that anymore. That building structure is going to be so high, it entirely gets rid of the view. We both strongly oppose this development and hope you consider all the input the people on Cottonwood have expressed. Thank you for listening to us and have a great day.
Thank you very much, Mr. and Mrs. Aiken, for your input. Is there anyone else online or in the room who wishes to speak? I will call for a second time. Is there anyone?
Sorry, Mayor.
Excuse me, go
As
ahead.
there's no more public input, the applicants have 5 minutes
I
to
will give her
respond.
the opportunity before I ask if there's any more public input. Okay. Did you, is there, let me check and see, is there anyone else who wishes to speak first? All right, would you, with the applicant, we have one more person who wishes to speak again. So would you like to come up to the microphone, please? And for people online, can you state your name and address
Hi,
again?
Colin Brierly, 6 Birch Court.
Thank you.
The last thing I forgot to add is the environmental impact. Right across from the property's proposed development, there is a marsh and a little pond. It's full of otters, beaver, bulrushes, all sorts of other natural habitat. With a big, huge development like this, 40 to 50 feet in size, it's going to affect the environmental aspect of this little pond area, which is adjacent to the park. Lots of people are attracted to the little pond area. They canoe in, they kayak in because they enjoy the nature. So there's a big concern with a development this size, just the noise pollution alone, what's that going to do to the wildlife? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, I'm going to ask again, and then we will let the,
Sorry, Mayor.
Go ahead.
It looks like we have Mr. Murray who would like to speak.
go ahead, Mr. Murray.
Mr. Murray, did you want to speak again?
Sorry about that. It was on mute by accident. I apologize. I just wanted to say yes. Just to go further with Colin's point about the environmental study, as I mentioned in my letter, I think that's quite an important factor, and that has not been taken into consideration. So I want to second it. And also, I did forget something as well. My part of my back gate was also damaged, and all of the damage that was done, I just want to reiterate and second what Colin said. All of that damage was done, and no one really seemed to do anything about it, and it's still there. So I think that's something to consider. If that's how things are being done now, what does that mean for how things will be done moving forward? I think that should be taken into consideration as a benchmark. So I just want to leave it at that.
Thank you very much. So I see that we have somebody wanting to speak, but is the applicant? Am I correct? Okay. So if there are no other members of the public who wish to speak, should I go through a third time or give the okay. I will ask for a first time. Is there anyone who wishes to speak from the public? Yes. Go ahead. Come up to the microphone.
I just have one question. Why is this applicant not maintaining the property? And the only reason I'm asking that is because I personally sent you 2 emails in regards to this property.
Thank you very much. I don't think we're here to answer that. We're just here to listen to you. If that's a concern, we have it written down for sure. Thank you. So I'll ask again for the first time, is there anyone who wishes to speak to the application? For a second time, is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak to the application? And a third time, I will ask if there anyone who wishes to speak to the application. Hearing none, I will ask the applicant to speak, or do I say the speakers list is closed now? Okay, the speakers list is now closed, and we will listen to the applicant. Go ahead, please, Manika and Harry.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, thank you to the neighboring residents who brought valuable feedback to our project. I'd begin from the first feedback that we received from our neighbors at 6823 Cottonwood Drive. I do want to reassure you that from the existing Cottonwood Drive, none of the buildings begin the setback from the drive aisle to the setback from the Cottonwood Drive to the first building is a minimum 7.5 meters or 24 feet for convenience and to ensure that it does not feel overburdening to the people who are on Cottonwood Drive. This also answers a question that was presented in the future, but the height for the townhouses is only 3 stories, 10 meters or 32 feet. For the second speaker at 6 Birch Court, I do want to clarify that the 19 townhouses that are proposed are in alignment with the OCP and bylaws presented and available for public use. 18.38 is what we could, and then by consolidating, 19 townhouses are being proposed. For the third speaker, Mr. Murray, we are okay to present a shadow study if that helps. The established view corridors, I believe, are expected to change as we develop and grow. In response to the fire safety concerns, we understand that the Osoyoos emergency department is overwhelmed, and for that particular reason, every single townhouse is equipped with sprinklers and strobe alarms so that even before a response vehicle can get there, the sprinklers will automatically take care of the fire or smoke in case such a concern happens. For Mr. and Mrs. Aiken, the safety, I can appreciate the community growing and then it will have impacts. In terms of height and easement, again, I would like to inform that none of the buildings begin. They're at least 7.5 meters or 24 feet away from Cottonwood Drive, and they're only 3-story in height, so 10 meter or 32 feet. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Harry has his hand up. Are you speaking? I'm sorry, I don't know your last name. Harry, go ahead if you're speaking.
Thank you so much, Mayor. So yeah, as the developer, our focus is really to complement the Cottonwood neighborhood. It is more of an upscale area. It's a mix of multifamily projects already that are there. One thing I'll mention as well is that if you look at Cottonwood Drive, there's other multifamily projects such as the Palms, as well as Sole Vita, as well as that other I believe about 65 or 70 condos and townhouses that have been approved at the end of Cottonwood Drive by the cul-de-sac. So again, as far as like traffic and congestion and everything, when you look at our proposed 19 units, it's quite a bit smaller than the existing multifamily projects that are on the strip already. We respect everyone's opinion 100%, and we have really put a lot of effort into making sure that we're not obstructing views as much as possible, even for the gentleman whose house is in the back of our property. If you look at the townhouse project, I believe on one side of the lane, we have 7 townhouses. If you look at the wall where the 2 visitor parkings are and to the back of the property, I believe there's a good maybe 40 to 50 feet of empty space there. So it isn't actually touching right up to the property's edge. And there's also a lane in between both the townhouses. So there's a good 25 to 30 feet of space in between. So again, your views are still there. We've done everything possible to sort of respect our neighbors as well. And just to mention, as far as like any damage, like we fully apologize if there is any damage. To our knowledge, nothing was brought up to us by, I believe, the geotechs who have done the soil testing there. Anything, if they did do any damage, please kindly let our architect know, and we will be in touch with the geotechs who did the drilling to address that damage, because it was never brought to our attention. But as far as any cleaning and everything, we're beyond happy to clean up the property. We actually, again, look forward to developing and cleaning up that site. It's been empty for quite a while. At the end of the day, it would actually beautify that community and that coveted neighborhood of Cottonwood. End of the day, again, I'll mention it's compared to the other multifamily projects that are already there on that strip. It's only 19 units. I know that based on the density that we have, we get 18.4 units. So we're asking for about approximately half a unit more. And again, as Monica had mentioned, it is within the OCP. The other thing I'll just quickly mention to all the respected neighbors who have spoken today is that if you look at Cottonwood Drive, if you look at the Palms condo building, and then if you even look at Sole Vita, if you look at Maple Drive behind the Palms, and if you look at Poplar Court, which is the cul-de-sac behind, you could sort of say, the Palms, and in between our site as well. So on the backside, they also have their views obstructed. End of the day, if you look at the condo building at the Palms, or next to it, there's the two-story houses. And if you zoom into even Google Maps, you can see that all those residents on Maple Drive and Poplar Court, their views are obstructed as well, even with two-story buildings, right? So end of the day, we respect like what you're saying. It's important to make sure that we hear what you're saying, and we take that into account. We've really thoroughly and fully analyzed this as best as we can. We've looked at multiple different designs, but then to make sure that we have the least amount of obstruction in views for you guys, we made sure there's a lane and the buildings more so to the front of the property instead of the back, so it's not intruding, and you have more sunlight and views by doing that. And again, as Monica had mentioned, the height of the building is only about 32 feet or so. And again, I'll just mention the geotechs have done the soil testing. We have completed the reports before we submitted for a development permit. So they've looked at the water table. They've looked at the neighboring, I believe, lagoon or water marshes right across from us, looked at the depth of the water and everything. So they've also, at the end of the day, supported the project through their geotech reports. So we've had professionals review the soil and everything in that whole area and the impact.
Hi, Harry.
Hi there.
Sorry to interrupt, but it has been just over the 5-minute mark for the
Not a problem.
responses, so we really appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Thank you
Thank
all
you.
again so much. And we definitely look forward to developing in Osoyoos. We have other projects out there. One just received development permit recently as well. So thank you all
Thank
for
you.
that. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much.
Thank you, Harry and Manica, both of you, for giving that information to us. All right, so we are going to, I'm going to ask for a motion, please, that the public hearing of the official community plan, did you have a, who are you asking questions to? The plan, yes, I think you can do that. Go ahead.
Madam Mayor, a question. Has the approval from the Ministry of Transportation been accepted?
At this time, no. So what would happen is if council were to give third reading to the amendment bylaws, the zoning amendment bylaw would then be distributed to the Ministry of Transportation for their official sign off.
Isn't that kind of backwards?
So as part of a standard process for our rezoning applications, the ministry has already been made aware. So they've received a referral with respect to the proposed amendments. I do believe that they would have already given the preliminary approval with respect to the application. It's just that they don't actually provide the formal sign off until it's actually passed through council, and the file would ultimately return after sign off for council's consideration of adoption.
Okay, I have another question. When you originally made your comments, you said it was zoned for 18. So why would we allow 19? And the 19 one has no parking spaces on your drawing here, or the drawing that's been presented.
So currently, it wouldn't allow for 18 dwelling units. The rezoning
I
itself.
said if it got past 18. So why are we allowed 19? And if you look on the drawing, number 19, is that a garage? Sorry,
So
I guess I related to the other.
So my understanding is that once you listen to all of this, it goes to third reading. That then would make sure that the Department of Highways has to then give their information. Plus, I'm assuming Fortis does as well, because they have responded. They're one of them, and they would be involved in that as well, making sure that the requirements for the Fortis infrastructure is on place, the letter that we got from them. Am I correct?
Yes, so with Fortis BC, it's not a legislative requirement for them to approve of the development. It's they're advised early in the process just so that they are aware and are able to make any sort of comments at this time at a preliminary stage. With respect to the Ministry of Transportation, it is a legislative requirement that they must sign off on the zoning amendment. Otherwise, it would not be able to proceed.
Thank you. Did you have something
Yeah,
else?
one more question, this hypothetical. If this got passed and each suite has 2 parking, could they come back and ask for amendment to put basement suites in? If they chose?
Yes, that would require council approval through a rezoning application again.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Poderica.
Thank you, Your Worship. As someone who lived in Bridgecourt, I obviously well aware of the property, lived there for 10 or 11 years, was well aware when the fire originally took place. But just a couple of questions, Mr. Wong. I believe this is probably one of the first developments we've had come forward since our changes to our zoning and our OCP amendments, correct? So a lot of the setbacks in that have reflective of those changes and the public input that we had during that zoning and OCP amendment.
Yes, so a number of the setbacks would have been reduced as part of the zoning bylaw update. That being said, at the end of the day, if the amendments are approved by council, the applicant must abide by the zoning bylaw. They are held to all the provisions within the zone that applies to the property. Should they choose to go outside of that, that would require council approval through either a rezoning or a development variance permit.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No? Councillor Chong.
Thank you. And just to clarify on Council Poderica's point, when we did the setback change, that was in response with the SMUH provincial legislation, which basically required us to change the setbacks to increase densification.
Yes, so generally those changes to the building envelope, so that would be height and setbacks as examples, those would have been in response to the small scale multi-unit housing legislation in order to facilitate greater densities on these residential lots.
One more question. Might be a question for Manica. With the sprinklers and strobe alarms, are those building standards or those extras?
Those are building extras. Building code define. Hello, can you hear me?
Sorry, Manica, we're past the asking of the questions in that so you're unable to sort of speak past that because we've done the public input and the applicant has had a chance to respond and has had that 5 minutes. So technically this part is done.
I'm just responding to the councillor's comment.
Go ahead.
I'll rephrase the question. Ms. Duong, are sprinklers and strobe alarms, are they extras or are they building standard and building requirement?
So unfortunately, I'm unable to speak to that as I'm not familiar enough with the BC Building Code as a planner. But at the same time, during the building permit application process, there are fire considerations that are taken into account at that point.
Thank you.
And my assumption is that the building inspector would have to okay everything that goes in, and if that was new building codes, that would be included.
That's
Okay,
correct.
thank you.
Thank you, Worship. Just a question to Mr. Wong. On the lower density property, what would be the current height restriction based on that current zoning?
Sorry, I just have it pulled up right here. It would be 11 meters.
Thank you.
And the height of the proposed building is?
So based on the plans that they've submitted, it is under 12 meters. That wouldn't account for the entire extent of the stairwell, which is to access the roof. However, stairwells and elevator equipment do get height exemptions under the zoning bylaw.
Thank you. Okay, is there anything else on this particular issue? All right, then I will say that the Town of Vesuvius Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw number 1375, yeah, we're at that, 02/2024, and the Town of Vesuvius Zoning Amendment Bylaw 1395.01 2024 be read a third time. That is,
Sorry,
nope,
Mayor,
we've missed part.
we need to adjourn it.
I'm
There's just
sorry,
one
this
before
is,
that.
this is kind of confusing. I absolutely apologize. I looked at that and I thought, okay. So the public hearing for the official community plan amendment bylaw and zoning bylaw are going to be adjourned right now. Do we have a motion? Councillor King, Councillor Chong, all in favor? Thank you. I will point out that no new information can be received on this matter as of now. Now, Ms. Duong has already given us the report on the official community plan and the zoning plan. Ms. Duong, did you have anything else that you wanted to? No, you've already given us the slides. So now I'm looking at that the Town of Vesuvius official community plan zoning amendment and community plan be read a third time. Could I have a motion to do that, please? Councillor Poderica, is there a seconder? Could we get a seconder first and then a question?
Second and then on.
Go ahead, seconded by Councillor Bennett, and then go ahead, please.
So if we do the third reading, then that's not passed yet. We do a final reading. But now when the developer said he's going to do stuff like he would be willing to do a shadow response and that type of thing, is that is that going to be something who does that?
Ms. Duong, could you, I mean, he did say that he would be interested in looking at some of the questions. How does that happen now if we give it a third reading? Do you know?
So from a staff perspective, we wouldn't be requiring something like a shadow study. Council does have the opportunity to request that the applicant provide that. However, that is at Council's discretion.
And does that come before we approve third reading? Did you have a
More of a question, would that require a friendly amendment to the motion? That in order for third reading, then we would require a shadow X, Y, and Z.
Can we ask Ms. Duong first, please?
So if the shadow impact assessment were to be required by council, we would have to re-go through the public hearing process as it is considered to be new information following the public hearing. So just so council is aware.
Okay, council, what is your pleasure on this? It is a little confusing. I get it for sure. Go ahead,
I'd like to
Councillor
make a
King.
friendly amendment then to include what we just discussed. That way we can get more input.
So a friendly amendment to include the shadow study was there anything else? And I'm sorry, I couldn't hear everything he said. Was there anything else that he said he was going to do, including that? Did you, people that took notes? When I think he talked about safety and being close to the street, and I think we've talked about that. So it was just the shadow study? Okay, so the idea is that we would pass this for the third, well, we can't do it a third time, I don't think. We need a shadow study to go with this, and then it would come back to a public hearing at a future date. Am I correct?
Mayor, I
Ms.
wonder
Wong?
if an alternative would be to postpone the third reading at this time.
Okay, so in other words, let him come back to something and then we would postpone the third reading at this point. Is that correct? So we've done the first and the second already. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
I'll make the motion to postpone third reading until we have the additional shadow study. I just think we need a bit more information. This is a key property. We want to make sure that all the neighbors are listened to and all concerns are addressed appropriately.
Okay, that's appropriate, Mrs.
The
Coulson.
motion to amend or to do third reading is already on the floor.
Okay, so what we need, and it's moved and seconded, therefore we need to vote on that. All in favor? Against? Okay, now, sorry. All right, we've gone through that. Now we will go back and postponing that. So how do we proceed? Mrs. Coulson or Mrs. Robinson, how do we do now? We just ask.
Full motion to postpone the reading.
Make the
Okay.
exact same motion with what I just said.
Okay, seconded. So we postpone it until the developer comes back with further information. Is that correct? Okay, all in favor? Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for going through this meeting for the past hour. It has been confusing and we appreciate everybody's input on this, and we will continue on. All right. I think we're now looking at water matters. Am I correct? Is that where we are? So we have the water, sewer, and garbage budgets, and we will ask Mr. Zackel to continue, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. So for council, this is a 2025 to 2029 water, sewer, and landfill operating and capital budgets. The process for these budgets are November 12th today. Council's to receive the budget packages for information only. November 15th, council to listen to public presentations, as well as council to review written material that has been submitted and received by our office. November 21st and 22nd is council to debate and make budget decisions with respect to the water, sewer, and landfill budgets. Utility billing starting in 2025. Our water, sewer, and garbage user fees will be mailed out on a quarterly basis to our property owners as a utility bill, rather than being included in the property tax notices. So quarter one for January 1st to March 31st would be invoices mailed out in February with the due date of March 31st. Quarter two, April 1st to June 30th, mailed out in May, due June 30th. Quarter three, July 1st to September 31st. Likewise, invoices mailed out the month prior to the deadline in August with the due date September 30th. And quarter four for October 1st to December 31st. Invoices mailed out in November with the due date December 31st. For the 2025 to 2029 operating and capital budgets, summarize, the water user fees are budgeted to be increased by 9.65% in 2025. This includes a 4.52% increase for operational costs, an increase of 0.06% for capital project funding, a 4.45% increase for the inflation adjustment for the Water Sustainability Fund, and a new fleet reserve established under the water utilities of 0.62%. So that total of 9.65% results in a $72.78 increase for the average single-family dwelling. Operationally, the operation budget for 2025 is $2.775 million. Operating expenditures have increased by $218,844. Wages comprises $102,750 of that. We also have an increase in administrative costs associated with the quarterly billing for postage, supplies, and staffing of $35,000. Maintenance has increased by $73,544, and power has increased by $8,550. The water system includes our town domestic well system, which services the town of Osoyoos Water District, Twin Properties, and OAB properties on 45th and Cedar Lane. And our water district, which is north and south of town boundary on the west side of Osoyoos Lake for agricultural, domestic, and domestic twinned. Water reserves. Our reserve funds included in the 2025 to 2029 budget include annual contributions for our water sustainability fund, including the inflation adjustment, which is the new charge for 2025. So that brings that annual reserve funding of $1.552 million. A capital contingency fund remaining at the $100,000, PSAB 3280 remaining at the $100,000, and the new fleet reserve of $30,000. Fleet reserve fund would ensure funds are available for when the need to purchase vehicles for servicing the utilities department. Past practice, we would utilize water reserves to pay for those vehicles used in the water or utility department. Under water capital, we got $13,631,000. That represents 14 capital projects in 2025. 8 projects are being carried forward from 2024. We have $33.723 million in 12 capital projects in 2026. $41,827,000 in 8 capital projects in 2027. $22,547,000 for 12 capital projects in 2028, and $139,000 for 2 capital projects in 2029. Our water capital sources of funding, the water capital projects are budgeted for in our 2025 to 2029 budget. Operational revenues are paying for $3.733 million of these. Government grants, we're relying on $62,030,000 in government grants for these projects to be completed. Borrowing has a total of $30,276,000. Reserves, $12,141,000. Development cost charges of $1.866 million, and other contributions from customers' contributions of $1.819 million. For our 2025 to 2029 sewer operating capital budget, sewer user fees are budgeted to increase by 6.63% for 2025. This includes a 3.06% increase for operations, a 1.25% increase for increased funding for capital projects. The inflation adjustment for this should say sewer sustainability fund is 1.63%. And the fleet reserve, likewise for the sewer utility to pay towards that, is 0.69%. So that 6.63% is a $44.98 annual increase to the average single-family dwelling. Under operations, sewer operating budget is $2.18 million for 2025. Our operating expenditures have increased by $133,874. Wages are $97,364 of this. We've got the increase in administrative costs associated with quarterly billing for postage, supplies, and staff of $17,500. Maintenance of $26,560, and a reduction in our power budget of $7,550. So the town sewer system services the town properties, rural properties north on the west side of Osoyoos Lake, which is called the Northwest Sector, the Osoyoos Indian Band for Spirit Ridge Campground, 45th and Cedar Lane. Under our sewer reserves, the reserve funds in our 2025 to 2029 budget include annual contributions for our sewer sustainability fund, including the inflation adjustment, which is new for 2025, and the total is $1.394 million. Capital contingency fund remaining at the $100,000, and PSAB at 3280 at 100,000, and the new fleet reserve of 30,000. Likewise, same thing for the water utility. The sewer utility would be paying 30,000 towards replacement of the fleet vehicles. Under sewer capital, we've got 2.884 million for 8 capital projects in 2025 and 3-year carried forward from 2024. 4,050,000 in 10 capital projects for 2026, 2.991 million for 6 capital projects in 2027, 2.488 million for 7 capital projects in 2028, 3.040 million for 4 capital projects in 2029. Our sewer capital sources of funding, operational revenues are paying 4.29 million of the capital projects. Government grants are 923,000. We have no borrowing for the sewer capital for 2025 to 2029. Reserves are paying 9.823 million. DCCs 147,000, and other contributions are 808,000. The 2025 to 2029 landfill operating capital budget includes garbage and recycling user fees are budgeted to increase by $5.75 or 3% in 2025. Our landfill tipping fees were last updated in 2020. The landfill tipping fees are being proposed to increase to $125 a ton, with the minimum charge increasing to $10. Garbage bag tags increasing from $3 to $4. Yard waste tipping fees to increase to $75 per ton, with a minimum charge of $10. This was $60. Compost waste sales increasing to $75 per ton for volumes less than 5 tons, and increased to $35 for volumes greater than 5 tons. Previously, likewise, the prices for sales were $60 and $30. Mattress and box springs are increasing to $17.15 or 50 cents from $15, and the liquid waste handling fees increased to $42.50 per ton. The landfill operating budget for 2025 is 1.178 million. Operating expenditures have decreased by $80,940. Wages have been reduced by $44,270. Contractors are reduced by $38,000, and maintenance by $1,330. Our reserve funds for the landfill, we've got our landfill future site of $220,000, our landfill post-closure of $860,125. For landfill capital projects, $705,000 for 3 capital projects in 2025, which one of the projects is being carried forward from 2024, and $25,000 for 1 capital project in 2028. Landfill capital projects are budgeted for through operational revenues of $40,000 and reserves of $690,000. And that is the information for now. So the recommendation for council is to receive the budget packages for information only, and allow the public to provide comment before council even starts to deliberate.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zackel. So there is opportunity for people who wish to have questions on these 3, water, sewer, and garbage recycling at the November 15th meeting. However, if you wish to do that, you must provide a letter, phone the town, and sign up first. We do not take people in the floor on the 15th. We have the agenda set up before then. So it must be done by Thursday, the 14th. Absolutely. Thank you. And then council will come back on the November the 21st and the 22nd if necessary. Definitely we will be discussing all of the budget issues after we have looked at the reports from Mr. Zackel, and we have looked at the questions and concerns that the public has provided to us, and we will deal with those at a council meeting in here on the 21st. We may, if we're not finished on the 21st, we may have to continue on the 22nd. We're not quite sure yet. So thank you very much, Mr. Zackel. Does anybody have any questions at this point? And today all we're doing is receiving the budget packages for information. We're not deliberating any of the budget items right now. Did you have a question, Ms. Director
I
Appleby?
have a couple of things that I saw there on the slides. I don't know whether they're correct.
Um,
And I don't want Jim and his crew to be put out if I am right, then they're presenting some information that's not correct.
I think, did you not get the reports that we have? We've got this information? You don't?
No,
Is it not in the binder? No.
no.
Okay, then is it something that you can certainly go ahead and ask Mr. Zackel now if he,
Okay.
are you okay? And Mr. Zackel, if you would prefer to talk to them after about it, but,
It should only take a second.
okay, well,
On the billing, on the metered billing, for example, you're saying you're going to collect the information from October to December 31st and bill on December 31st.
okay, could you answer that one?
Yes,
Thank you.
so ultimately, the fourth quarter billing will be billed out in November. And that's for the period of October 1st to December 31st. This is still during the flat rate billings. So we're
Oh,
not
during
billing
the
on a
flat rate
metered.
billing. This is
That's
not the
correct. So
metered
this is
bill.
still flat rate billing.
Okay.
So that's why we can have that structure for now.
And the next one is just the one, the compost fees. $30 if you take 2 tons. Or if, whatever, and $35 if you take less.
So ultimately, this is for the sale of compost.
Right.
So the higher volume sales, the price is less.
There's a question with respect to the landfill and garbage. This is not a water matter.
Oh, I see. Sorry, water counselor, that's a landfill. No, we understand you use the landfill the same as the rest of us for sure. Okay, Mr. Zackel is certainly available to answer questions if you, yeah, okay, thank you very much. Anything else? All right, so we have a recommendation that we receive the budget packages for water, sewer, and garbage for information. Could I have, thank you, Councillor Poderica, Councillor Bennett, all in favor. Thank you very much. Okay, next. Staff reports, 136. Yep. Thank you. All right, so general net payroll and Sun Bowl Arena financial accounts. Am I correct? Is that where we are? It's a bit confusing. Okay, so our general cash requirements as of today, the meeting date is $1,159,773.44. Sun Bowl cash requirements of $11,719.47. And net payroll accounts of $120,635.27. So could I have a motion, please, to accept these figures for information purposes? Thank you. Councillor Bennett, Councillor Chong, all in favor. Thank you very much. And next is the building permits, and we have had quite a few in the month of October. A total of $1,706,740. The total to date is 18 million, and the total to date in 2023 was also 18 million, so very close to what we've had. We have some legal suites and a barrier-free ramp and a storage building, detached garage, tenant improvements, and addition to create a duplex. So could we have a motion, please, to accept the building permit? Thank you, report. Councillor Poderica, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you. And next is the zoning amendment bylaw. Ms. Duong, that would be 139502. Have you got a report of slides for us? Good, thank you.
So no formal presentation for this one. but I will give just a quick recap for council's benefit.
Thank you.
So this application involves the property at 4601 97th Street. The proposal is seeking a zoning amendment, which would rezone the property from medium density residential 1 to medium density residential 1 site specific, with a site specific provision to allow for the inclusion of secondary suites within townhouse units. As council may recall, at its meeting of October 22nd, 2024, council did resolve to approve first, second, and third readings of the amendment bylaw. Since that time, approval has been granted and from the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure, which is, as mentioned previously, a legislative requirement. And that was obtained on October 31st, 2024. And now this item is being brought forward again to council for consideration of adoption of that amendment bylaw.
Council, go ahead.
Question. You know, when the transportation covers one of these projects, do they actually come out and look at it, or do they just kind of correspond through the internet?
I can't speak to the exact process that the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure staff would undertake when reviewing these types of projects. But I can speak from experience and say that I have seen the Ministry of Transportation signal at their preliminary approval stage conditions which must be met prior to them signing off on an amendment bylaw. So ordinarily they would flag issues earlier in the process and then review those prior to signing off on the amendment bylaw.
So today, the only thing that we're looking at is the Department of Highways are okay with the inclusion of secondary suites. Am I correct? That's the only thing that we're dealing with today. Is that correct?
No, so today the amendment bylaws in front of council for your consideration of adoption of that amendment bylaw.
Yes, yes, that's what I meant, but it's just to allow the secondary suites.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Council, what would you like to do on this one? Go ahead.
Your worship, I will move for option 1 that we adopt the proposed bylaw.
There is a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Chong. All in favor? Thank you. All right. Next is, thank you, Ms. Duong. Next is new business, and that would be council reports for me, for Councillor Bennett and Councillor Poderica. All of us attended the Silga Asset Management Plan for the day in West Kelowna. So we need a motion, please, to approve those expenses. Thank you. Councillor King, Councillor Chong, all in favor. Thank you. And we have a report from the Accessibility and Age Friendly Committee that is included in here of September the 26th, 2024. Councillor King, you are there at that meeting. Is there anything that you wanted to note from this?
Not necessarily, just to give an update that they have started with the canal trail railing, and we are in talks with Sessions to put our trailer on their property, and they could look after our trikes. So we are moving forward with a couple things.
Thank you very much. So would you like to move that this meeting be received for information? Thank you. And a seconder for that. Thank you, Councillor Chong. All in favor. Thank you. And next is the Airport Committee meetings of also September the 26th. That's accessibility. Sorry, October the 15th. Did you need to speak to that? Okay, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, we have met since, but this one coming forward, that the Airport Advisory Committee met on October 15th and reviewed the current edition of the proposed master plan. Obviously, we're working with the Ministry of Transportation in terms of the closure of the south side. We have run into a few little hiccups there that have delayed the draft from being presented, as it does one of the sections of it is affected based on their approval. And secondly, that we continue working with ODES with the management agreement that's being proposed. So that's my report.
Thank you. And it does say that you tentatively scheduled another meeting on October 28th or October 31st. Does that actually
We met
happened?
on October 29th, if I remember.
Okay. And that had, the minutes of that haven't
Will
come
come out
forward.
calling the approval next meeting.
Absolutely.
I was prior to me flying back to Canada that day, but I did attend. So
Thank you very much. All right, we
May I
need,
ask
are
a
you?
question, please?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At some time, will the Airport Society make a presentation to us on their kind of changes and what it would look like?
Go
Can you
ahead.
answer that? at
yeah,
all?
no worries. Thank you, Worship. Councillor King. Yes, we're working right now. I believe once the master plan has been finalized, which includes the few pieces we're still trying to tie up, that they would present that as well as present an update to council based on their current, their current progress to date. So.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So are you moving the acceptance of this report? Councillor Chong seconding that? All in favor? Thank you very much. All right, next is the report from our Chief Administrative Officer. Mr. Risling, we see you on the screen. Are you able to provide a report or?
I think so. Can you hear me, Mayor?
Yes, we can. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Thank you. So November 8th to 11th, there was under 18 tournament. I didn't hear the outcome, but usually our tournaments are always well attended and by the public. And so I'm sure it was a great time. We also had Halloween Howl, again, a huge success, had over 300 people in attendance. Just wanted to also put a shout out to the Elks. They donated $1,000 and Pharmacare gave candy at cost. 2 farms, I'm not sure which ones they were, but they also donated the pumpkins, and the grade 12 students carved the pumpkins, and they also ran the haunted house. So a lot of volunteer efforts that just want to give a big shout out to. Fire department, again, they do work with the high school students, and they had about 50 students coming out to learn about the fire service as a career. They also, well, maybe I'll leave this for the mayor, the fire chief for the day. I think it was an exciting day last week, so I'll let you talk about that. And just doing some repairs. There's a couple of water system repairs at La Costa Lanes. They've been doing irrigation blowouts. And they did pull out the docks, the gyro dock that has seen its last days. I think if the people know that dock used to be very large, we used to have a couple of them, and slowly we've been taking pieces off it, and we're at a state where we can't reuse any of the that dock. So it went to the landfill here last week or a couple of weeks ago. So we'll be putting in a budget request to actually replace those docks. And that concludes my report. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Risling, and safe travels, please. Okay, we will, we need a motion, please, to accept the CAO report for information. Councillor Chong, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you. And we will look for council reports. Councillor King, you're first.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Attended a Remembrance Day yesterday. Again, very well received. I'm sure it was a full house with over 300 people there. And I'd just like to take a shout out to thank the Legionnaires for all what they do in our community.
Thank you. I totally agree. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. October 30th, we attend a meeting with Director of Financial Services regarding the water, sewer, and garbage. November 1st, attended the Silga Asset Management Seminar in West Kelowna. And then November 4th, the Trails of the Okanagan Board meeting, and our AGM is scheduled for November 23rd at 2:30 in the new library in West Kelowna. And we had a pretty cool announcement the other day where it's a major announcement, but construction is starting on the multi-use path between Goat Peak Park. So you'll now be able to cycle between West Kelowna and Peachland. So it's a huge part of the trail.
Good. Thank you very much. Councillor Chong.
Thank you. Attended Trick or Treat on Main Street. It was a resounding success. It's always amazing to see the community come out. I apologize to everyone that my daughter did not say thank you to. She was a little shy and overwhelmed. Also attended Halloween Howl later that day. Would really actually like to thank the Coyotes for volunteering their time and being just so great with the kids. And also, I believe it was some high school students that took the initiative to set up the haunted house. They toned it down from when we walked through, which is fantastic. And then on November 4th, attended the Supporting Local Physician Recruitment Working Group Committee, which was spearheaded by the town of Oliver. And as I said on that committee, it'll be a representative of Asuyas alongside Dr. Dillon as well. We are hoping to expand our role with that committee so that it can be a joint process. They've been doing some really amazing work with marketing and planning and different strategies and advocacy for the South Okanagan. I do want to clarify, even though it is the town of Oliver that has been spearheading it, they have been doing this initiative for the whole of South Okanagan. So it's not just Oliver specific, which has been very gracious and amazing. So working closer together to create a larger economy of scale so that we can just do more work to help with the healthcare crisis here in our region. And then attend Remembrance Day yesterday as well.
Thank you. And I had that question to ask you whether you had a meeting with the Oliver Recruitment Group, and so I'm glad that you have, because I saw on the news today that that small town rural mayors are trying to get together and look at the possibility or how we can deal with hospital closures, which seems to be very common. And so I have responded to that as well. So there are some people trying to work, and let's hope it moves forward for sure. Thank you. Councillor Poderica.
Thank you, Richard. It's been a couple of weeks. October 29th, as I mentioned earlier, I attended from a place that starts with a V and wasn't Victoria, the Asuyas Airport Committee meeting, joined with our legal team as well. November 1st, attended with yourself, staff, and Councillor Bennett, the Silga Asset Management Seminar. Really good takeaways out of there. Obviously, as we look back, that asset management is more than just a buzzword. It's important. It has a huge impact on us, both in the present and in the future, for our future planning and growth. And it was interesting to see, there was a really good representation of municipalities from the sizes like Ashcroft up to the sizes of Kelowna. I know Kamloops had a separate meeting, but also looking at some examples where communities have been proactive and effective in nipping that asset management or the asset management deficit in the butt before it continues to become a further issue. We look at, Oak Bay, who's managed to cut that deficit down by half based on corrective measures that do have some short-term pain, but they have some long-term benefit for the community. November 8th, attended the Asuyas Tourism Master Plan Task Force final meeting. That report's nearing its final draft stages. Just a few more tweaks, and hopefully that will come out. And obviously sets the 10-year plan in terms of how the Asuyas region as a whole is impacted and benefits from the tourism industry, which is a significant impact. One of the key takeaways from that is the impact on tourism and how it, on a per capita basis, how much it affects us. And I know I shared this stat with one of the other councillors, was per capita, it's about $25,000 annually is the benefit to the community based on our current population, which super exceeds every other tourism region in the province. So some really good numbers out of that. And of course, yesterday I did attend with council Remembrance Day ceremony, both at the Sonora Center as well as at the Cenotaph. And thanks again to Asuyas Legion Branch 173 for their work and ensuring a very a good event, a great turnout, and appreciate them for having us. That's my report.
Thank you very much. So, of course, I've dealt with some of them too. I was at, over the past couple of weeks, I was at a Asuyas Festival Society meeting on October the 23rd, and Christmas light up plans are well underway. I was also at the Silga Asset Management workshop, and we learned a lot, and I I just have one sentence here. The term asset management, which we're required to do, is defined as the application of sound technical, social, and economic principles that considers present and future needs of your users and the service from the asset. So we'll be hearing a lot more about asset management, but it was a very helpful workshop for us to be at. I also attended and spoke for a minute and cut the cake at the 70th anniversary of the Osoyoos Curling Club. And that was quite interesting because there were lots of curlers there who had been members of the curling club for many, many years. So it was fun to see them. The Okanagan Basin Water Board, I attended that meeting. Fortunately, at this time of year, it's on Zoom, so I don't have to travel because if I do have to travel up to Vernon, because 2 meetings a year are up there, it's 3 hours up, 3 hours back. So it's quite a long time. I was at the Desert Center AGM on November the 6th, and that was very interesting. And the Desert Center, of course, provides lots of information to not only tourists, but school kids. They get people from the university to come and help out. And they had a wonderful Romancing the Desert, a fundraiser this year, which they were very happy with. The RDOS, I was last week on a day at the regional district, and the chair and vice chair. The chair is Mark Pendergraft, who has been the chair for quite a while, is very knowledgeable, and happens to be the Area A director. So we're very lucky to have him there. And the vice chair is Campbell Watt, who is a councillor from Penticton. Was also at the Osoyoos Tourism Task Force Day on November the 8th, and there is quite an interesting report put together, which will be available very soon. There's just a few things that need to be fixed up. Many things Councillor Poderica has told you about because he and Mr. Risling and I are on that group. And on November the 9th, I went out for lunch with the firefighter of the day, a young lady in grade 2. Her name is Sarah, and with the Osoyoos Fire Rescue. And, we went to McDonald's for lunch, and very kindly, McDonald paid for all of us to have lunch. So that was to the fire rescue, plus Sarah and her parents were there. So it's a really positive thing. And I see that there are some pictures in the paper too of Sarah, giving the orders at the fire rescue group. So that was a good thing. Well, she was very quiet, and so I'm hoping that she developed a voice and really gave them what for. And absolutely, it was yesterday at the Sonora Center. There was no parking for a long ways away. That's how well attended it was at the Remembrance Day ceremony, and also at the cenotaph. So absolutely, others have said it. The Royal Canadian Legion here does an excellent job of getting this all organized and setting it all up with help from lots of people. And definitely Brian Holgate has been managing it for many years, and he does an excellent job. And so does our chaplain, Steve Hershey, who really gave an excellent sort of a pep talk on why it's so important for us to remember our veterans, and to also to listen and support, and listen to people, support them, and make sure that you're doing your best to help other people. It was excellent, really well done. So that's all that I had to say today, and so I will. I'm looking for the next part. We're going to go into a closed meeting. Where have I got it? Back here. Too many things here. I haven't got it. I haven't got the last page that has the closed on it. I think when we were changing, you took out the old and we didn't put in the new. Thank you very much. So pursuant to section 91 of the community charter, a part of the council meeting may be closed to the public if the subject matter being considered relates to one or more of the following. Section 91G, litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality, and section 91K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are at their preliminary stages and that in the view of council could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality if they were held in public. Could we have a, go ahead, Councillor Poderica, Councillor King, all in favor? Thank you very much.